on it today. We're going to have Jennifer Cutler-Scotti. I was blown away and of course we have Alyson on there, the two of us, a dynamic duo there, but I was blown away by Jennifer's passion for the subject of getting cyber knowledge to folks that need it. She is a one-person wrecking crew on the myth of we have a pipeline problem or we have a skill shortage or XYZ. She definitely gets into exactly what the problems are and how to best address them in order to get skilled individuals that want to break into cyber jobs, and therefore ameliorating the wild, rampant burnout that can be evidenced in the cyber profession. And I just, when you talk to someone, you can just tell that they're a good human being. That's absolutely the vibes I get from speaking with Jen. I was so privileged to be on here, and I think y'all will have a great time listening. So please, without further ado, let's jump into it. And of course, as always, keep it cyber metal. See you guys. Welcome back, friends, to another scintillating episode of the Cyber Mettle Podcast. I'm excited for this one. Usually a barometer is a lot of the pre-show talk, and we've been raring to go. It's been humming and jiving there. So without further ado, Omar Sangurima. I'm joined, as always, by Alyson Laderman. Alyson.
Hey, thanks, Omar. Happy to be back for another episode. We are totally excited to be here today with Jennifer Cutler-Scotti, and she is the Assistant Director of the Texas A&M Institute of Data Science. And before we get started off, as we always do, we're going to give you our normal disclaimer that even though I'm a lawyer and Omar is a cybersecurity expert, and Jennifer is an education specialist in her field, we are not your lawyer, cybersecurity expert, or education specialist. But we are here to share with you our experiences, what we have seen in our organizations, with our businesses, and just through our own personal lives, and have an actual meaningful human conversation about the topics. And today's topic, we're actually really excited to go into with Jennifer in particular, which is something that is near and dear to what we are all seeing in the field of cybersecurity right now that is quite critical. What we're seeing is an erosion of those entry-level opportunities. We're seeing where people are going, wait a minute, how do I have entry level at 3 to 5 years experience, which in and of itself is not entry level by definition. And what are the schools doing to help address that really large gap? Because you don't want to go to school, get a degree, and then not get a job. That's the whole point. You've gotten your education and now you need to pay for it and be in the field you went to school for. And so that's kind of
Well, I am super duper excited to be here with you guys. Alyson, like I emailed you earlier, I was like, oh gosh, I'm super nervous. But I know just, anytime you and I talk, we go everywhere. And so hopefully we will keep it slightly contained for your audience today because we can go so many different directions. And you are 100% right. This is something my students and, all students out there that are a big passion point of mine. A little bit of a background. I'm Texas A&M class of 2001. Whoop. Hopefully we do good in the next couple of weeks. Our first, playoff berth in very, very long time, I will say.
Yes.
I currently am the associate director at the Texas A&M Institute of Data Science. Prior to that, I was actually with the Texas A&M Cybersecurity Center doing very similar things that I now do at the Institute. And one of the things that I learned very quickly when I moved from the Cybersecurity Center to the Data Science Institute, that we are pretty much the same. You can't have data science and AI. AI is a big part of data science without cybersecurity or security. So I actually have continued to work with my same students, with my same faculty across campus. And again, that's my favorite part of my job, is working with my students, helping them get jobs. I've done this for about 10 years. I will admit I am generally the least technical person in the room because I do not have a technical degree. And so advising my students and telling my students, getting them jobs and helping them, find their career paths and what they want to be when they grow up has just it's been so much fun. I'm sure we will get into that part of the conversation shortly, because you will find very quickly where my passion lies.
Now is growing up really part of the prerequisite, or can we just get the job without growing up? I just need to know.
That is the first thing that I tell my students. That's the first question I ask. what do you want to be when you grow up? And they always give that deer in the headlight looks like, oh
Mm,
my God, I don't know. I haven't
Right.
even figured that out yet. And then I tell them, like, it's okay. I don't even know what I want to be when I grow up. It's like,
that's right.
I ask that question so that you at least can start thinking about a direction.
Mm.
And
Right.
sometimes you have 40 directions, but at least you've narrowed it down.
Maybe rephrase it as, what do you want to do to help bring in an income, or what professional? But looking at it that way, right? And so that's a good question. We'll start with this. So how do you, when students say, I want to be in cybersecurity, how do you help break it to them that cyber is a really big field, and help them really kind of pick which lane that might fit their interests best so that they are aligned for success?
Well, and what again, then the next question I ask is, are you a people person or are you a computer person? Because as everybody, especially at least listening to this podcast, knows, cyber is not just the technical, the computers. I mean, it ranges all the way from non-technical to, the guy behind the computer hacking and protecting, the network. And so I always ask them, what do you enjoy doing? Do you enjoy being the guy behind the computer, creating the network, securing the network? I said, or do you actually enjoy being the person in the front office, telling the CEO, hey, we have a problem. We need to spend this much money to fix it. Or, hey, this is, these are things that we need to do or change,
Mm.
policy, making policy and laws and regulations. Cybersecurity has been the buzzword for, 10 or 15 years now, but we are still very far behind on having, solid laws, regulations, and policies simply because it changes almost on a daily/yearly basis. So that's what I start them to thinking, what do you enjoy doing? Are you the people person that wants to be talking to the people, interacting with the people, or are you more of the behind the scenes computer technician, networking guy or gal?
And I think that helps really kind of funnel them into the different areas that they
Yeah.
might be interested in. Are you finding, though, with the current work environment, that there is a bit of the crossover, that even if you're not a people person, you're still going to have some of those people skills, those soft skills? Or is it really still those two lanes? Because I know originally it used to be thought of as no people, people. Where do you want to be?
Mm.
Right.
But I'm starting to see a lot more of that crossover. Are you seeing that as well with the students and with the profession as they're starting to go out and get jobs?
Most definitely, and it's probably more dependent on the size of the company they go work for, because obviously if you go work for the big guys, they have the people that take care of the, operation functions and creating the presentations and why we should do this and why we shouldn't do that. And then they have the whole team of guys behind and gals behind the scene. But something that is always impressive to me is our students, my students at least. And so I'm going to assume that it is this generation. They actually truly do want to make the world a better place. And
Right.
that they are realizing and they are seeing that it's the small to medium companies that need help and that need people with, their skills that they are getting and growing. And so they are learning. Maybe I'm not the best people person, but I do want to improve my people skills. I do want to improve, my communication skills, because I'm an engineer, a tech person. I have to bring my explanations, my conversations down to speak to the lay people, the people like
Mhm.
me, to understand and get what they're trying to explain to them.
And I think that's where you and I have really connected a lot around those topics, right? Which is when we were talking about like accolade certifications and our training materials. What I love about what Texas A&M does is it really looks for giving those students those experiences and really working with the community to give back to the community, but as well the student experiences. Do you mind sharing a little bit about how you guys do that? Because I know it's different than from a lot of universities, and I just love the things that we have discussed before in that area.
Yes. So and that has been an A&M culture thing for as long as A&M has been A&M. Like I said, I'm class of 2001, and when I was in school, they called that the other education. It was not what learned in the classroom, and it was very, very important. A&M has always encouraged our students to go out, do extracurricular activities, do you know educate yourself on things other than just what you're learning in your degree path. Become more of a well-rounded person. I don't think we use the other education phrase much anymore, but ironically, our students today have so many more opportunities for those experiential learning opportunities and education. And, just a few of the things that we provide is, you've got your standard student clubs. Currently, we do a lot of our trainings and professional certifications, for instance, through our cybersecurity club. And they are wonderful. Like I will try to keep this one short, but our students are so fabulous. They do everything. They do the training. They kind of do the administration of the logistics of helping other students get their certifications, get their learning, because that, again, that is how much they care about, you know, helping their fellow students learn cybersecurity, get out into the world and make it a better place. And then we have other programs that students can sign up for, things that, involve internships or externships, which, that can be your standard. Go work for 10 weeks in the summer with a company, actually hands on. One thing that we really try to do, especially, is all of our research projects. And this is something that I have to attribute to our faculty, because our faculty do see it as important for our students to get that hands on experience, is including students in the research that they are doing. So most faculty, if not all of our faculty, when they are writing a research grant, when they are doing a research project, they will have one or two, sometimes 5 or 10 students, and not just PhD students. They will have undergrad students working with them to figure out these world problems that they're getting lots of money to solve through grants and stuff.
I love that. And I know that, Omar, you've got your place of business. I don't know if we've mentioned it or not, right? The company, but you guys do a lot of internship opportunities. You want to share a little bit about kind of what you guys are working on in
I
that
swear
same
it's
area?
I swear it's a legal place of business. I mean, the way you said it, like my
Well, no, I know we've had
gray
guests that are
market
like, don't name my company.
pharmaceuticals.
So
No, like no, that's the old me. No, we have one of the things that we I think we just got tired of, and I was very excited that the HR department at MSK said, hey, let's do this, was apprenticeships. The one thing that triggered me. I hate using the phrase, but it's so apt in so many ways, right? So I'm in that in between generation, but it's prepare. You said preparing the students. They're helping other students to prepare for getting out in the real world. That's kind of what drives, obviously, the apprenticeship program. We have a couple high school students that are in there and they shadow us. They get their hands on, like you said, very real day-to-day experience. But what happens when you're preparing them for that and then there's nothing there to send them out to? Like, are you seeing that more and more? Is that a trend? Am I in a weird spot, or like what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so we all know the last 10 years in cyber, doomsday has been, there are 500,000, cyber positions
Oh
available
yeah.
by 2030. There will be another 500,000. That has kind of been the repeated, and it's true. It's not just somebody trying to, make us all feel like the world is coming to an end because we're not going to be able to protect, ourselves cyber wise. But one of the biggest challenges that I'm seeing my students have is a normal entry level position. I mean, it
Mm,
can be, junior cyber analyst, junior DevOps engineer. These are truly entry level positions, are requiring 2 to 3 years experience.
yeah.
And, as a 21, 22-year-old college graduate, to have at least 1 year of experience, because maybe you did do an internship. You were
Sure.
lucky enough to get an internship.
Mm,
Maybe you were a student worker and able to work in a faculty member's lab. So, you do have that. But 2 to 3 years, that's
it's
a
a lot.
lot.
it's hard.
I mean, that is, to me, you're not really an entry level person
That's
at that
mid,
point.
right? Aren't you? Isn't like 2 to 3 the next kind of tier?
It's supposed to be.
I never
Like 3 to
understood
5
that.
should be that mid-level at that
Right?
point.
I thought
Exactly.
you're past your probation at 2 to 3 years, right? So,
Yeah.
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 and so that's a challenge, and that is one of the things that I really try to work on with my students, and I try to help my students understand, just because it says 2 to 3 years experience, you don't have to have necessarily paid work experience. This is where you
Bingo.
need to start
Mm,
bringing in, hey, I was the president of the Cybersecurity Club for a year, and then I was a vice president prior to that. Here are the things that I did. And
Right.
you want to obviously align that with the job description and the job skills that they're looking for. But I'm trying to get my students to think about what you did is your experience. Just because it wasn't paid does not mean you can't put it down on your resume. And so that's another, that's coming a little bit easier, a challenge to tackle a little bit easier. But, students, they're so humble. And I'm the most, when it comes to writing and tooting about myself, I can't. I'm like, I'm a great person. Like, you asked me, what is your big title? And I'm like, well, you don't even have to give me a title, right? And so that's the big thing, teaching our students, you have to toot your own horn. You have to advocate for yourself. Say all the great things that you have done. You don't think they're great, but you know that it can show that, hey, look, I really do have this skill, even though someone didn't pay me to do it.
It's funny. We talked about that with Jose Toledo. He was a guest a few episodes ago, and he was talking about that transition from military to civilian and how you're
Well,
taught, don't toot your own horn, don't stand out, those types of things. And how do
team.
you translate that experience into, oh no, this
Yep.
is relevant skills, right? I can assess a crisis communication situation. I can look at these, deal with risk assessments.
Yeah.
And with the students, if they're training other students on how to pass certain things, whether it's Hack Me, right, or
Yes.
Security Plus or whatever it is, that is a skill, because even if they turn it into was able to train X amount of people to understand these technical concepts and pass this certification, that may align with those job duties depending on what they're looking for, and the soft skills, right?
Yeah.
That at least gets them those.
100% on the soft skills part. Yeah.
Well, are you finding that you're able to find qualified internship opportunities for the students? I mean, are there businesses or nonprofits in the community that want to work with TAMU to be able to get in there and get more people like butts and seats to do some of these jobs and get that experience?
Yes, and finding the internships and getting the students into the internships is truly not the hard part. I mean, and I tell all of my industry partners this. All I need to do is get you in front of my students or my students in front of you, and they will do the rest. I mean, they will blow your mind. They are so brilliant, and it's like, so I'm never worried. Sometimes what it is, though, it is actually getting industry in front of my students, or my students in front of industry. And yes, industry, big and small, come to us all the time. We want to help. How can we help? We want to sponsor a datathon. We want to sponsor a hackathon. Industry is actually very supportive. But sometimes getting those moments, like career fairs are great and wonderful. And we've had this conversation before, Alyson.
Right.
I dislike them to my core because, especially a school like Texas A&M, our engineering career fair, 10,000 students, 400 companies over 3
Wow.
days, which that's impressive, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I feel so sorry for my students and the
also a lot.
recruiters and hiring managers that come, because they're literally repeating the same questions, answering the same questions over and over again. They might be there looking specifically for a cyber student, but they're going to get 150 resumes from engineering students in general. So now they got to
Right.
go through the resumes, which, I mean, AI does help that, but that doesn't give you a sense of who the student is. What we really need is industry folks. And I tell all my recruiters, I tell all my hiring managers, I tell all my alumni that call me and are like, hey, how do I give back? How do I help? Come talk to my students. You can give a presentation, we can come just have a dinner, and and let them talk to you and you talk to them, because they're a whole different person than they are in an interview, than in a career fair, than even in a recruiting event specifically to that company. And then the students are also getting that opportunity to ask the questions. Hey, I'm interested in this. I want to do this for a living. Am I headed down the right path? Am I doing the right thing? What else can I do? I mean, these are questions that they have, and it's more than just a 2-second answer. They want to have a conversation. And hiring managers need to have conversations with the students, because then they can get a better feel of who they are. Anyway, that's my strong opinion on that one.
I think you're covering something that, and it's funny because I think Alyson, you, myself, we know folks in the industry want to do this, but it's like ships in the night in terms of
Yes.
finding those outlets and going, where can I be, most effective? To your point, having that conversation, coming back and in a small group setting I'm giving you the real, hey, do this, don't do that, or based on what you told me you want to get into, or judging from, you're not going to find this in a textbook. They're not going to say it online, but here's real industry, knowledge, just the stuff that you're going to get by being in there. I know folks in my industry, like you mentioned, Alyson, Jose would love to do that. I bet you there's a couple outlets that he's, you know, it's just, where's that disconnect happening, do you think then? Like, is it like on what side of it? How do we ameliorate it? Like, what are your thoughts there?
I don't think there's one answer to
Mm,
that question. I know, for instance, at Texas A&M, again, you hire any of our students, and in whatever degree they get, whatever field you're in, you hire one of our students. You are getting a student with a quality education that knows what they're talking about and doing. As a recent college graduate, so that's a lot of what, when people are coming to recruit at A&M, that they're going off of that. So they don't
mm,
necessarily feel the need to have these deeper, more detailed conversations. But A&M is so big, and I feel like this is probably like University of Texas is huge, even
mm,
Texas Tech. Those are just Texas schools, right?
mm,
Me as an industry person, me as a no name industry person, like everybody, Amazon, Google, Facebook, they don't have to recruit. They could just not go on a single college campus, and they would still get 500 applications per job, right?
mm,
Those guys, we're not really talking about those guys. We're talking about the medium to small, but especially small companies.
mm,
They don't know where to start. Who do I talk to even get on campus and get in front of students? And really, and I hate to say this, but the answer is you just go and you figure it out. You
mm.
go and
Do the work.
What's the worst that could?
out to the
True.
career center and say, "Hey, this is what we want." Career
Yeah,
center, like, I know the A&M Career Center is fabulous. I have a great relationship with them. They always send people my way, pass people my way.
mm,
Go to the department of, computer science. We want the more technical cyber kiddos.
sure.
Computer science. I mean, like, anywhere you start on a university campus, because they want you to hire their students. We want you to hire our students. They are going to help you get in front of students. And then you start building those relationships. And, here, let me introduce you to our cybersecurity club. They do events and you can get involved with them. By the way, we have a women in cybersecurity club as well. We also have
Mhm,
a Aggies in coding. So, like, you have to go and
mm,
have the conversation with somebody. And again, I'll warn everybody, a school like Texas A&M, very big, very huge. But trust me, once you start building those relationships, it's going to be well worth it.
I was like, if somebody were to try to reach out to someone at Texas A&M, where's a good place to just start so that they aren't overwhelmed with that process?
Um, I would say, so if you generally looking to hire, a career center at any college is probably the best place to start, because they do know and have at least the best contacts, on the phone. You want to hire cyber? Here's cyber. You want to hire someone in
mm,
policy? Here, talk to this department. Oh, you want to talk to someone more on the networking side? So career centers are always the best spot to start. Again, student clubs, because that is a direct contact to students. Is helping the student clubs, and again, kind of like what I was talking about, A&M has always had the culture of the other education of building our students up outside of the classroom. And the way A&M does our student clubs is they are fully 100% student run, developed. I mean, they all have a faculty advisor to make sure, they don't cross the lines that they shouldn't, and they know how to do things legally and correctly. But
mm,
all of our student clubs are students, 100%. Everything they do, all of the sponsorships they get, students are
mm,
talking to those industry directly. The presenters they get, students are the ones that are going out and getting them. So student clubs are always a great place to start too.
Awesome. Well, I'll say I want to kind of go back to the beginning a little bit. And so we're seeing this issue in the industry, and we talked about with students, right? Looking at the experience they already have to try to fill that
Mhm.
job posting, looking for 2 to 3 years experience on something that's entry level. What other recommendations might you have, or thoughts that you've had that I know we've talked about a little bit to kind of combat that? Like, where do you think this gap is coming from? I hate to call it a gap. Everybody's got a gap at this point, but it's a gap. Let's, like, right.
Right.
If you've got students and there's no 0 to 2 jobs. Like, one, where is that shift come from, right? Where it used to be get into, some IT kind of jobs and work your way through cyber so you understand the systems before you try to secure them. You kind of got to know what you're working in. And those opportunities seem to be going away. Do you think it's just AI or a combination or something else? And then the second part of it is like, how do we as an industry really try to bridge that gap between, we've got all of these students, right? We see all of these reports. And in fact, some of the ones I've seen from not our company, we don't do this, but other certification companies that say, oh, there's millions of jobs that are open.
It's
And
wolf
I can tell
tickets.
you, living on
Yeah.
It's wolf
LinkedIn, I know
tickets.
Omar sees it every day.
No.
We're seeing tons of people, especially high level people now. We see entry level people saying, I can't get a job. I can't get an internship. I can't pay my bills. And we're seeing high level people going, I've been outsourced and downsized and let go. And so it's an interesting disconnect between what some people are putting out as there's these jobs and then other people going, there's not. And yet we know there's a need. We know our businesses, especially small, medium businesses, are not cyber resilient. So it's a weird mix of numbers. How do we as an industry really start to look at the problem? Kind of what lenses should we look at it? And then what are some solutions of trying to get this more in alignment? Because there really does seem to be a huge disconnect between lots of jobs, not a lot of jobs, people without them, and companies that don't even have the positions or even the outsourcing for those, but probably should be, right? So there
Right.
could be jobs, but they're not currently there.
Right. So I think the leaning towards an entry level job is 2 to 3 years experience minimum kind of started with no companies, think back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they were not cyber ready. They were not cyber resilient. They were not, I mean, it was, we're going to cross our fingers and hope for the best and hope, and
Yeah.
that is, it
10
sounds
years
horrible.
ago,
But that's
I mean,
the truth.
it's still,
And I
I'll
mean, a
say it's
lot of
still,
companies it's kind of like that because again, I mean, hey, Alyson, you know this, and we work with a lot of startups, through A&M, our A&M Innovation Office. We work with, the local community businesses. A cyber assessment of your company can cost $30,000 to $40,000, and that's just to say you really need to get you some cyber security on your system, right? I mean, like
that's going to stick with me because that's truly what you end up getting at the end of this is like, here's 30 racks. And by the way, it's worse than you thought. You can pay me to do better.
yeah,
Call me later.
Well,
Like, no, that's tough.
exactly.
So but is there an opportunity though for students to work with some of the local small businesses to not charge them 30 grand and use it as a training experiential exercise
Exactly.
with a platform like something like Mirror IQ that is secure, that isn't using AI, that's making the students think through the process, apply the GRC concepts, and at the end of the day, have the ability to give some recommendations for a company who otherwise wouldn't have access to any of that, something to think about as to how do we plan for resilience for the organization.
And the answer wholeheartedly from me is yes. And in fact, one of the extracurricular type things that we have done, and it is not a permanent thing because education, higher ed, academia move very, very slowly. So even just to create a class, it's going to take me 2 years to get it to create the curriculum, get it on the approval list, get it through the approval list. But we do have ways to kind of get around that. We can do special topics. We can do, seminar classes. So we have actually done a class. We went out into the community and we looked for a small business and said, hey, if you are okay with students doing this with faculty expert, oversight, of course, if you are okay with students doing this, we're going to do it at no cost. We're going to give you a report at the end. We're not going to help you afterwards because that's not what we do, but you're going to give our students hands-on real life experience of what this is. And, you're going to get confirmation that you need more cybersecurity. And we had several small companies come in and say, yes, we would love this. We picked one because the class was going to be small, and it was a very small company. It was a local company. I think they had 6 employees. One of the reasons that we had chose them was because they had actually been hacked and the owners had some of their retirement basically stolen.
Oh,
And so, they were very desperate to be like, how do we keep this from happening again?
right.
So, and our students loved it. And I think the biggest impact that this made was the students saw how non-cyber secure a company, specifically a small company, is. I mean, again, it was just like, yeah, we change our passwords when we need to. Yeah, we, you know,
And then
But
we
we
put them
locked
on a
the
Post-it
server up.
note and put it under the keyboard.
I
Yep.
mean, and the students, they
Huh.
really got to see not the importance of cybersecurity, but then the importance of knowing where your vulnerabilities are. And they did make recommendations. Hey, this is one of your vulnerabilities. This is something that we recommend. But then they also, that kind of talking about that people side versus the tech side. It's like, how do you explain this to a person who, they don't have the money to go pay for, this huge security software to protect everything, because even if they did, they don't necessarily have the skills to install it and
How are they going to admin it?
maintain it. And and so that within itself was a huge value. So that's something that we want to do more of. But again, it's kind of one of those, we can't just put together a class because our faculty, it's their time, their money.
Right.
The students, some of the things, our students have to fit the class into, they have a core set of classes that they're supposed to take. There are set classes that they have to take, with their degree. So taking that extra class sometimes is not necessarily possible. So that's why we would want to really get it into the whole permanent class roster. But again,
Mm.
we're working on stuff like that, and it does take time, and there's not a quick and easy button is to
No, I think that's accurate. This is a long-term problem that it took a while to get to this point,
yeah,
but now it's just very loud. And so we're seeing it, and it's not a quick fix. And I think the fix really is on multiple levels. I think that's brilliant that the students can get in there and see the human side of risk
yeah,
and resilience and the challenges with that. Cause it's not always money. It's sometimes like, don't push that button. Like, no, I know that don't push the button,
Mhm.
but there are some
Mhm.
things that you kind of go, wait, what are the humans doing in this particular work environment? What are they not doing? What bad habits have they picked up? As in,
yeah,
what browsers are they using? Are they
yeah,
turning, or do they know to turn the basic things on and off?
Mhm.
yeah,
Are they working with a local IT company to patch the computer systems? Is there
right,
someone monitoring the traffic at a bare minimum to see who's doing what where, or if somebody's accidentally clicked a link they shouldn't have? And now is there like an abnormal traffic pattern because somebody's, coming in
yeah,
ways that they shouldn't be? And for the students to really see that, and theory is great. But when you get to like sit with a real company and you're like, oh, I didn't think that through.
yeah.
Humans, I think Omar can attest to this. Humans will always not surprise you and surprise you with the level of, "Wait, did you just do that?"
No, exactly. Well, then that exactly, but then also, yes, we know it's a problem. Yes, we would love to fix it, but we got 10 other things that we have to spend our money on, that we have to, fix before we even think about thinking about that. And that's critical thinking, problem solving. I mean, that to actually,
Prioritization.
Yep.
That's
and
right.
even some of my students that have gone to larger companies, I mean, obviously for a larger company, it's a little bit easier because they do have more money, more people, more
Mhm.
resources.
Right.
But to actually see, I can't just go in and do this. I have to get approval. It
Mhm.
has to be paid for, or, the solutions that are out there don't fit this company, this group, this as well as they say it does, or we all thought it did. They need something else.
Mhm.
And so that's always, and that's always getting students, again, I can't say it enough, into real world scenarios, activities is probably the best experience for them. And
Yeah.
just because we all know we're old, right? We've had multiple jobs, we've lived our lives. We know plans are great and wonderful, but it never turns out the way you think it's going to turn out. And the
No.
way
Nope.
they say it is, you get there and it's never that way, right? And so
Mhm.
Ever.
what our students need is they need to see that, you know, the book is great, but it's not always 100% accurate.
Well, and again, if the classes though, think of it this way, right? If it takes 2 years to make a course, sometimes the material and the information is a little
Well,
bit outdated by the time you go into
Exactly.
real practice. At the speed that
that is the
technology is
challenge.
evolving, old books from 4 years ago aren't really talking about AI security issues, right?
Yeah,
That's just starting to come out. And
yeah,
even though people are starting to talk about it, as far as textbooks go and stuff, it's still relatively new in
yeah,
those
Mhm.
areas. And the impact, because to your point, Jennifer, from early in the conversation, the regulations are changing all the
yeah,
time.
Yep.
It's very inconsistent. It's very much, we've talked about it as a patchwork quilt. It's like this state may do it this way. And they're like, oh, but
yeah,
why do I have to worry about California? because you sold your product there. That's why you've got a user logged in there. I don't care that you're in Idaho. You just opened yourself up to California, right? You sent something to Europe. Oh, well, now we got to go deal with EU AI Act and they're changing, right? I mean, that's not even the same as what that was. So it's, I think it's I always say this, not law school, but the practice of law and the practice of governance and risk and compliance and really any kind of cybersecurity in that broader, how do all the pieces fit together? What are you looking at? You're trying to figure out the biggest puzzle pieces. What are those key identifiers? You're looking at the risks. What is the likelihood that that vulnerability is going to turn into a risk? And then what's the expense if it does? How much does it cost to fix it? Can we and what, if we don't fix it, how big is the cleanup, right? Yes. And taking all of that information and being able to synthesize it and say, all right, based on our current priorities and our budget and where we're at and where we want to go, how do we get there? And really learning to say, I know I can't fix all the things. Am I willing to accept the things I can't fix right now and fully understand and walk into it with open eyes? And that's a big thing for a company to be able to understand that. And for students to learn, you're not going to fix all the things. You're not going to have the budget to fix all the things. You're not going to have the time, the energy, the resources.
Yeah.
How do you help a company understand I don't want to say the biggest bang for their buck, but that's really kind of the concept of, or which ones deal with safety, right? And Omar, I know you deal with that on the medical side, right? If there's security issues that actively harm people, doesn't matter what the cost is, that has now taken a priority level over inconvenience, depending on what the pieces are. And if I'm out of line, Omar, tell me. I don't want to put words in your mouth because your experience is...
but I also think that ties back to what Jen is saying, where before, I learned what I learned about cyber, did the courses, got some schooling. Before I got to the environments that I've worked in a law firm prior, worked in a physical security company before that, now work in a hospital care center. The students are not going to understand or appreciate what you just touched on, Alyson, where if I'm pitching, let's talk about in your environment for vulnerabilities, certain stakeholders are going to go, listen, that's computer stuff. I deal with life support. Talk to me. If you're not going to talk to me in that language, I'm not going to want to listen to you. Now, you can do a quick, I'm giving away the trade secrets here, but you can do a quick trick there and go, no, listen, these are the regulations that have to do with patient safety and liability and that arena. Let's talk about that and let's see how we can maybe get your IT environment to support you on that journey. As a student, there's not going to be a lot of material out there that's going to tell you about making that switch. Right. If you see it, like had I seen it 6 years ago when I first started at the hospital, I think, I don't get yelled out of as many rooms, say. Now, everyone here was great, but, they were, patiently waiting for me to stop talking and then, okay, cool, get out of here because you're talking about cyber. Like it's a different, but students aren't going to understand that. Like you said, Jen, the other education or getting seat time or shadowing someone in a specific realm, right? I'm sure it would be different in terms of how I'd have to talk at a bank, still a highly regulated environment, but you want to touch on different things and there's going to be different words that are going to get you past doors and whatnot. So I love what you're doing. I want to make it internet official. If you need an extra set of hands, reach out. I'd love to help with that also, because it goes both ways. I'm sure some of the folks in industry that jump in probably come back to you and say, hey man, that revitalized me. Like this is amazing seeing the energy, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I will tell you again, my students blow my mind and impress me on every day. And that is probably like number 2, number 3, exactly what you just said, getting industry here, getting people to see my students. And we're all, again, not to harp on our ages or anything, but you get jaded, you get, cynical, and there's the whole, this younger generation where I can't believe these are the ones that are taking care of us. Right. I actually have hope. I mean, like you come and you talk to our students and again, Aggies are great and wonderful, but they're all across the country because I go to conferences, I go to competitions. And so I get to see more than just Aggies. So as much as I like to say Aggies are the best, they are all really good. They are thinking of these problems and they are seeing these problems and they want to, I mean, I have so many students that have started their own businesses or they've come up with ideas of if you do it this way in your network, it's more secure. And it's kind of like, I mean, someone like you, Omar, who's been doing this for how many years would go, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
what, wow, why,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think of that,
Exactly.
and so they just need that chance to, again, that's goes back to the importance of get the students in front of you, get
Mm-hmm.
you in front of the students, and the students want to learn from you.
Mm.
I mean, they're sponges, and it's like you can tell them so much, and they're just like, if you tried to have a podcast with a group of my students, you'd probably need a week just to record it and have the conversation with them. You know, they'd have a whole different perspective. Everything that we have talked about, my students would have opinions
Mm-hmm.
and tell you things, and they would be a whole different perspective than what I'm bringing. Even
That sounds like a future episode, huh?
I
I
was
think
gonna say, well, I
I think
wasn't gonna
so.
say anything, but,
Yeah.
you know,
No,
That
I could probably get you a
that
few
sounds
students to do
that
that,
sounds phenomenal. That I
we
love
are
doing
we are
that. I
open to
like
that. I
what
mean,
you mentioned, for sure.
and I have freshmen, like, and it's not just they spent 4 years getting their undergrad or maybe they've even got their master's. I mean, I have freshmen that are coming out of high school, and again, I'm just like, I feel I was smart and I was intelligent in college, but I'm like, wow, you are like, a superstar. And that's kind of another point that answers several of the questions you've kind of asked throughout this is we need to go back further. College is
Mm.
great and wonderful, but we need to go back further. We need to start talking about these things, even if it's just talking about the importance of cybersecurity in high school and in middle school. Because I mean, I
yep.
get my students come to me, and I have lots of students that they exactly what you said, Allison. I want to do cybersecurity. Well, okay, what do you want to do? Because they've heard about it, they've seen it, but getting to college or
Mhm.
community college or 4 year, higher ed institution is the first opportunity that they get to actually learn about it, figure out what part they want to go. Do they want to go policy? Do they want to go technical? We got to step back and go further back and start in high school, start in middle school. And lots of school districts are. And I realize there's not an easy button on this because money, teachers, resources, time, I mean, all of
Mhm.
that. But not to, get on my doomsday horse, but our lives depend on this, especially with AI coming up. And I mean, no, the computers don't run the world yet, but you know, AI is going to be a big part of our lives
Mhm.
from this point forward. And
Mhm.
yes, humans are going to always be involved, but we need to start teaching the people that are going to be building these systems.
Mhm.
Security is important. Thinking ahead, who's going to do it, who's not doing it is,
Well,
you know,
I
that
think Jen, we got to
is what we
froze.
need to be
We
doing.
froze up here
Yeah.
on you.
I think we lost you, Jen.
Oh no!
Oh,
All right, we can always kick her out and have her come back in
I think so.
because this was a
Yeah.
good point. I want to hear
I
about it
know.
because this is what we
Me
talked
too.
about before.
Absolutely. So let me see if I can.
Oh,
did
there
I
you
lose
are.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
back. There we go. So no, as you were
Okay, so
saying
you
though, it was
froze in the middle
You
of
said
that.
something so profound and
I
world
know. We were
changing,
like,
and
that
I missed it, right?
the computers didn't want you to say it. I think it was so
I-
important that it was like, nah, this is
exactly.
some
What was the
Skynet
last
stuff.
part y'all heard?
you were talking about
Mhm.
how we really need to start with, and it's funny because this is something Omar and I have been talking about for a lot about,
Mhm.
and I think it was actually in our first episode we were talking about how there really needs to be kind of like when we had computer classes back in the day in
Yes.
elementary school, and it really needs to be more focused on technology safety
Mhm.
and
Yes.
paying attention to those things as we're learning and to use those pieces, right? Whether it's learning the
Yes.
basics of cyber resilience and cybersecurity, understanding
Yes.
what AI security is, and nobody's asking for detail, but enough
Right.
that you combat the apathy with here's why I should care, and here's
Yeah.
the basic thing, basic hygiene we should all have when it comes to cyber. And if we don't start that early, it's really hard to get people to care later on when they're like, I've made it this far
Yeah.
without it,
Yeah.
until it kicks them in the nose, right? And so
Exactly.
that's actually what you were talking about was
Yes.
education starting earlier.
And it's not even just necessarily, oh, security. I don't need, watch what I put on my Facebook post. Be careful. Hide the post-it note under my computer instead of just putting it on the desktop, right? In our technology courses and curriculum, security should be taught first. When you are
Yeah.
creating code, when you are creating a system, when you are building a network, you should be thinking about security. What vulnerabilities do I have at this point? Because up to this point, every cyber and security has always been the aftermath. And we're always doing a band-aid instead of, and so we're not really fixing the problem. And so that's kind of the importance of that you step back further in, high school and middle school, get them thinking about that as they're learning to code, as they're learning to build the networks, as they're learning, it's second nature at that point. And that is,
yeah.
that's important because again, AI is a big part of our lives and it's going to just become a bigger part of our lives. And these are the kiddos, my students, these are the ones that are going to be building the AI of tomorrow. And we need that put in before it's released. And then they go, oh crap, we totally didn't think about that.
Yeah. You can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. We need to educate them and have that basic understanding so that we can answer the question of just because I can doesn't mean I should.
Which, and I was going to say, then that goes into so many more questions and things that our students will think of before, I have lots of students, bless their hearts. They're brilliant, they're smart, and can I do this? I'm like, well, you can, but you probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a lot of that in life. That's a life lesson right there for a lot of people in a lot of industries. I was saying before we close, kind of tie this up because we want to be mindful of your time and we very much appreciate you being here. Where do you see as far as cybersecurity jobs are going? What are the kind of the hot areas that you're seeing more interest in, more development in, especially as far as the industry goes? What are those little facets within cybersecurity that people should really start paying attention to now?
So, and this is slightly, obviously, I work for Institute of Data Science, but talking with my industry partners, I'm hearing this from them as well. Again, AI is the future. AI is the now, AI is the future. But again, you cannot do AI, you cannot do data science without cyber and without security. And so that is, in fact, I went to a conference yesterday and one of the gentlemen that was on a panel, he worked for Intel, that he basically said data science and cybersecurity are two of the most important career paths that any of our students can take. And he also tried to reiterate that it's not just the technical side. You got to understand how it's going to fit into our society, how it's going to fit into a culture, how it's going to, work. And so you can help the lawmakers, you can help the decision makers, you can help the leaders that are, let's build our own, agentic AI that is going to learn off of, Reddit or Facebook but oh yeah, by the way, your proprietary information is also going to be in there.
Right.
And it's also a little scary that that's the learning data set. Like I love me some Reddit, but that's also slightly terrifying as well. So yeah, you're right.
I will admit I try not to think about that.
Yeah, right. But but it is, I think you circumvent it again by putting those guardrails into place where you go, listen, this is part and parcel with learning the tech. It's learning how to secure it. You can't disambiguate the two. And I feel that maybe this is slightly the cynical industry person in me, but I think this generation, that's a uphill battle. I think there's more fruitful if we can teach it earlier. And then hopefully that generation comes through and says, I don't know what y'all have been doing, but this is how we should be
How did
thinking of
y'all
this.
survive before you were doing this on a
Don't
regular
know.
basis?
I
What
ask
in the
myself that every
world?
week. Every week. I just go,
Yeah.
how are we still
We
here?
ran around the neighborhoods and drank hose water. I mean,
Right.
That's very true. I used to step on rusty nails on purpose just for toughness.
Right,
Like, yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
It's like I
Tough
didn't wear a
nails.
bike helmet or wear my seatbelt, but
Car
and
seats.
sat in the back of the car going backwards without a seatbelt. Oh,
That's what.
yeah.
Come
yeah,
on.
Station wagon.
exactly. Kids, I have literally had kids did y'all really not wear seatbelts? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it was a huge fight to get that to become a law, just like
Click it or
cybersecurity.
ticket. I mean, it
Yeah, I
was a
remember.
whole really trying to get.
Cybersecurity is a huge fight now.
Yeah.
It's my autonomy.
So just to kind of wrap that piece up a little bit, just talking about the industry. So it sounds like it's a little bit of ethics. It sounds like in those cyber and AI crossover, a little bit of ethics. It sounds like a little bit of governance, right? And those types of things to make sure we're really understanding how things need to work together. And definitely with that crossover. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's weird to look at it's just AI and it's just cyber when really you have to look at both together in the way that they work because AI can cause security issues,
Yeah.
type of thing. And AI can be used to help, patch certain issues. And there are different things if
Absolutely.
it's done securely and correctly. So I don't think they can be looked at as two silos. They really do need to be kind of
Yeah.
part of the bigger picture together in that interwoven way. What other things might you want to share with businesses or people looking to get in the industry or advance in the industry that in your experience you have seen that has been helpful?
I think that it's kind of back to our question that started the whole conversation. Hey, come join us on our podcast. Is this what is really an entry level position? And I kind of to answer a question late is some of the issue is industry thinks academia is already doing something. Academia thinks industry is already doing something, and that is where the disconnect is.
Mhm.
Industry assumes that academia is teaching this, this, and this. Academia assumes that's fine. They'll learn it on the job, or they don't need this, or they need this. And industry and academia, and you can even throw government, because the government right now, they want to modernize. They want to do all sorts of things, and generally the government is the big push for that. This is how we're going to use AI. This is how it
Sure.
should be used. These are the security, cybersecurity things you should have in place, especially if you're going to work for the government. I think all three of them, and I know that's like saying, to get them together and start realizing, hey, we're not necessarily doing what you think we're doing, and you're not necessarily doing what we think you're doing. So how do us together? We need to do this together.
Mhm.
And that's an easy answer to a very challenging actual solution, but it is something that I would talk to my industry folks about. Go to campus. Don't just recruit, I'm just going to send them my job applications and interview the people that apply. No, go to campuses.
Mhm.
Go meet the students, meet the faculty, make
Right.
those relationships, because that is probably the most impactful on both sides, for industry and for students.
It sounds like you got to bring the human back into all of this, right? It's
I
all about relationships. It's having the conversations. It's putting yourself out there. And as actually somebody I had a meeting with earlier today say, if you don't ask, you're not going to get. So if you in the industry are looking to have those conversations and meet students, it sounds like there are plenty of opportunities to be able to go, I'd love to come present and see how we can have a communication or a lunch or a club
Yeah,
meeting or something to be able to get involved in some way,
yeah.
whether it's mentoring, internship, or just having the conversation of
Eh,
where are you at and where are we at and
eh,
how do we work through
exactly.
this problem together?
Exactly. And again, A&M, greatest university there is, right? I'm slightly biased, but it can be any. Go to the community college, go to the
Mhm.
That's
technical
right.
college, go
Yes.
to, the smaller four-year college, come to Texas A&M. Anywhere you go to the high school. In all honesty, I
Yeah.
can't say we got to back up and start with start sooner. Go talk to the high school. The high school, that level is so hungry
Mhm.
for engagement, for how do we do this? What do we do? Because
Yeah.
at university, we have industry partners that we work with on a regular basis. And, that conversation is actually very common. High school level, K through 12, that is not.
Mhm.
Right.
And they're just, besides time, money, and resources that they have none of, they're just crossing their fingers and hoping that they're sending their kids off to their next level with the best foundation and, knowledge that they can.
And I'm going to add to your other thing from earlier about the industry, assuming that the school is doing certain things and that assuming that the educational institutions vice versa. I think one of the big problems that we've seen, we'll just use air quotes again. Omar loves when I do that, but generally have seen with organizations here in the United States in particular, is that there has been in many, many years a removal from where the organization trains. They don't want to invest in the training, in
Right.
the certifying up, in the making sure people have skills. They just want you prepackaged, ready to go. And I don't think that's a realistic expectation at this point in life, right?
Right.
Nothing makes you, especially in this field where it
Yes.
is so unique and customized for that particular business, for that industry, because, right, it's the size of the business, the type of the business, the number of people, the number of money, the number of issues at stake, the type of data, all of that changes what the needs really are and the skill set used, whether you have to communicate high, low, medium, across panels, everything else. And I think we have to go back to basics. We have to go back to humaning. And
Yeah.
I know companies I get for financial reasons don't want to invest because, oh, you're just going to leave concept, right? Why should I put my money there? Instead of looking at it as, hey, if I invest time in them and I pay them fairly and treat them well, maybe they won't want to leave. They'll want to
Right.
continue to grow with us. And if
Yes.
my philosophy has always been, if I train you and you do, I want to train you well enough that you have the opportunity to leave, but I want to treat you well enough that you don't want to.
Right. Right.
And if there was more of that, I think there would be an easier, a shorter time fix on this,
Yes.
honestly. But there's that you train them. No, it's like
Eh,
Omar says, the Scooby Doo. You do it. You do it. You
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah,
And it's
Well, I
just
absolutely.
mean, and
nobody
you
does
could
it.
not be more right about anything. Training when the economy is down, a company needs to save money. Training is one of the first things that they
First
cut.
thing.
Yeah,
And even, I don't want to call it the social stuff, but even the things that raise people's morale that makes you feel like a community within your company and you want to stay there. That's always the first things that are cut. And in my mind, that is the complete opposite of what you should be doing in times like that,
agreed.
obviously. And yeah, and I sound like an old person when I say this. This generation, they want to know that you want them there.
Yeah.
They want to
I
know
think we all
that
want
they
that in some way.
well,
Even the
well,
old
yeah.
people, we want to know that you
And
want
so
what we have. Why should I be here
you
otherwise?
invest in them, they are more than likely, and I see this with even just with my students and working with, the institute. It's like I'm investing in students, and so students come to us because they want to now work with us because they know we are investing in students. Exactly what you're saying. Invest in your employees, and they're going to want to stay. People are going to want to come work for you, and then maybe you'll be the next Amazon, and you don't even have to recruit because everybody knows that you're such a great place to work for, right?
That's right.
But yeah, that is a huge that could be like a whole other podcast, literally in
For sure.
general
Yeah.
topic, right?
Yeah.
Didn't we tell you this would go easy? You were worried.
Exactly.
We're like,
I
don't worry. We're going to talk for 30 minutes. We are now at 58 minutes. And so
Absolutely. Yeah.
But Jen, sincerely, every conversation with you is enlightening, and I very much appreciate that you spend as much time with me as you do. So, for anyone listening, Jennifer is not full of lip service. She genuinely means what she says. We have had these conversations. If she's saying, come talk to our students, please, as part of the industry, take her
Yes,
up on that opportunity, right?
Yes.
Come see what is
yes,
out there. These are young people that have grown up with technology in their lives from day one. And if they're in this field and they want to do it, they really want to do it. And they want to make those connections and they want to understand what's going on. And hopefully they will help us get out of the holes that we are digging for ourselves.
they wanna learn, they want to make the world a better place,
They do.
Hmm.
which I will admit I'm not sure that's exactly I was that good a person when I was 18 to 21 years old.
I can tell you only because of stuff I had been through. That's always been like a part of like, I just want to make it better than how I had it and
Sure.
leave it better than
Right. Yeah,
get the
yeah,
opportunities, pay it forward. Omar always talks about not pulling up the ladder behind you
right.
and
At
being able to
18
make
to
it.
21, I can firmly say I was 100% a pirate at 18 to 21. I'm not going to lie.
That's
I
actually a
had
very good
the black grease under my eyes, all right? At bad teeth, and I was looking for what could happen, but it's so good that we're in better hands obviously now, right? Then
But Omar, you turned out
yeah.
fine. You did okay.
You know what? Fate took care of me in that sense. It showed me what I needed to see.
we
But
got a few pirates in this generation
for
too,
sure.
but again,
Yes.
if we start, investing in them, we'll get more Omars than we
Exactly.
will,
Right? Give the cats the saucers of milk and they won't turn into pumas or jaguars, right? They'll be nice
exactly.
cats.
Build more
I like it.
Omars. I think that's
Yeah.
the
That
Oh,
is our
don't do
new
that.
motto.
Don't do that to
Build
the
more
world.
Omars.
Trust me. One of one is plenty. Ask my family.
Oh.
With that being said, Jen, it was an absolute pleasure. As advertised, Alyson was telling me in the lead up, you're gonna have a blast. I feel this won't be the last time. I hope it won't be the last time we jump on because, like you said, there's a ton of different places that we could go. So for anyone listening, if there is a topic that you want us three to get into, or if you want to reach out to Jen based on the please come see the students A&M, please reach out. We'll be more than happy to facilitate. But thank you, Jen, so much for the time. It was an absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you guys because I will admit, Alice and I have had numerous conversations about all of the similar stuff and even longer conversations. And sometimes I just feel like I'm a babbling,
No,
recorder. And
no, this
so
is
it is
beautiful.
nice to know that
Yeah.
people do care and want to listen.
This was needed. This was a needed conversation. I hope to be the first of many, Jen. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you guys.
All right. Take care, everyone. Till next time.